Live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Lakers insider for Lakers Daily, joined by Harrison Fagan, Lakers outsider for Vox/SB Nation. Is that how we're doing this?
Honestly, that's the most accurate you've ever given my intro. So I'll take it. It's like you at least remembered it this time. So I'll take it.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking about that Wolves and Mavs game and my kind of walking away thoughts from it. They're pretty similar to my thoughts walking away from the Celtics and Pacers yesterday. We're going to talk about LeBron and AD making all NBA. AD got second team. LeBron got third team. And then we're going to talk about some of the coaching noise recently. Every so often a story comes along that even if Harrison and I didn't talk about it immediately, it's the type of story that like I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't go back and laugh at it. So we're going to do that here at the very end as it pertains to LeBron may or may not being involved with the coaching search with the Los Angeles Lakers. But a quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. For those of you who are tuned in on Twitter, please head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge and subscribe over there. If you guys are listening in pod form, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey. Harrison, it's been a little while. We didn't talk on our normal scheduled time last week. I'm kind of glad that we didn't, so that we would be able to talk now and look back on the nonsense from over the weekend. Partially my fault, also partially LeBron's fault. And then we've had a few days here. You're in the thick of it here with these playoffs. How are you holding up?
I would say I'm doing all right. It's been a fun playoff so far, to be honest. Like there's been a lot of stuff going on. And so, it's always like the busiest time of year when you're sort of overseeing like all NBA stuff or whatever. But it's been like the games have been awesome this year, I think, for the most part. Like obviously there's been a couple blowouts here and there or whatever, but even the blowouts like in sort of Nuggets Timberwolves were electrifying, because it's just like it's these two sort of teams. You're watching them make adjustments between games that then it's like, okay, now you have the advantage, and so like what is Minnesota going to do to counter that? And then they figure it out, and so what is Denver going to do to counter that? And it turns out nothing, because maybe their head coach is just sort of a Jokic merchant. But like it's been nice. I've been enjoying the playoffs and the way they have gone so far, with the exception of the Celtics. I think we could say getting a bye to the finals.
Unbelievable. It's funny that Celtics fans bristle at that. Like, it's funny that Celtics fans,
good for them. They played hard all year to get the lowest seed,
right?
Every single time.
That's the point.
I don't think
That's
that it's a criticism.
You get the top seed.
Yeah, but generally, it's not like you're not playing teams sort of as weak as these ones are. But, hey, that's why you win the games.
Yeah,
that's why you take the regular season seriously, Lakers.
That's why you play in the Eastern Conference.
Well, that too, yeah.
Tonight, though, we were able to watch two actual NBA teams play against each other in the Western Conference finals. Two teams I think that are clearly better than both of the teams coming out of the East. I think they're both better than Boston. Analytics and stats, like, notwithstanding, I think Minnesota and Dallas, I would take either of those teams against Boston in a series.
I would take Minnesota against them, and Minnesota is my title pick right now, which is like maybe the craziest thing I've ever said on this podcast. Like, and it's like sentences I never expected to say. Minnesota is my title favorite, but I like the way they match up with the Celtics, even with Porzingis. Dallas, I'm less sure that I think that they're better than the Celtics, but I think they're at least they're certainly competitive with them.
Yeah, I think you're kind of
again
seeing
after
it
they
in
won
tonight's
tonight,
game.
So they're up 1-0 and they have a better chance of going to the finals right now. But I still like, if I'm looking at if I'm being honest, going into tonight, that was how I felt, and it's still mostly how I feel.
The thing that Dallas has that I don't think any of the other three remaining teams has is at any point they can have the two best players in one of the games that they're playing or in the series that they're playing, and it's like, I think I said it to Aaron a little while back that, like, if you have the two best players in a series, you win that series. Like, that's typically how it goes. And now there are outliers and stuff, but I think the
That's the
outliers kind of
2020
prove the
Lakers
rule.
story. You know,
Yeah, I mean, like,
every
remember,
series they had the two best guys.
yeah, remember back then it was always like, well, yeah, the Lakers have LeBron and AD, but how far down the list do you have to go before
But
you
you
name a
know,
Laker again?
the Blazers 3-7 though are looking pretty good. You know,
Yeah, but like that's the that's the thing with
I think
Dallas.
Wenyen Gabriel, I think he can stop LeBron. You know, I think we can't rule it out. He's going to really
It was
just
the
make him
greatest
work.
8 seed ever. Remember, it was
Yeah,
that was the
yeah,
greatest 8 seed of all time.
yeah.
But yeah, the Mavericks, though, you saw it in this one, right? Where early on it was Kyrie, and then late it was Luka, and then for most of the playoffs, it's actually been kind of flipped, where Luka kind of does his thing early and throughout, and then Kyrie takes over late. I also saw in this one, and this is something that I think Minnesota is going to have to think about, but Anthony Edwards was guarding Kyrie throughout, and I think it really affected his legs. Like, it's one thing to guard Jamal Murray, who came into the year out of shape, never really got into shape, and then was bad for most of the playoffs. Kyrie is a different animal, especially playoff Kyrie is a different animal.
Yeah.
So I do kind of wonder if Minnesota, it's not that they need to move him off of Kyrie altogether, but I think he kind of saved that pitch for late in the game because he is their best option on him. But you kind of save it for later in the game and hope that maybe Luka just has the ball then.
And I mean, they'll start to figure some stuff out and how to attack each other better over the course of the series. And I mean, we know that game one overreacting to game one is sort of like a pretty easy way to end up looking dumb, even if it is that thing of every single time there's a playoff win, you feel like that team is invincible and will never lose again. It's like, oh man, they just proved they're better. But then how often have we seen I don't think Dallas is going to win both games in Minnesota.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, it's a little weird to see Dallas win a game one. That was Jason Kidd's first game one win of his Dallas tenure. They're 1-5, which is kind of funny. But yeah,
well, he learned from LeBron. That's the feel out game. It's.
But my takeaway though, kind of steering this back to the Lakers with this being a Lakers show, is that I don't know, man. There's no juggernaut. Every time you see you think, all right, well, Minnesota just beat the Denver Nuggets. They came back from down 20 in Denver. They beat the Nuggets at one point in that series by 50. You look at them and all right, that's the juggernaut for sure. All season, the team, statistically speaking, that you would look at and say, all right, they're the juggernaut. They're the buzzsaw. Would have been Boston, but Boston needed Tyrese Halliburton having a stroke to at the end of the game to win that one. I don't know. My point here is that all year I have said that the league is wide open, and under this new CBA, the league is going to continue to be wide open. Denver might lose KCP this year.
I was going to say, can you imagine if they lose KCP and how much more wide open it's going to feel?
Right. This
there's no way they can replace, whatever you think of KCP.
Oh, no, God, no.
I know
Did
Lakers
you see what happened? They lost Bruce Brown and the impact that had on them.
Yeah, they lost Bruce Brown, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, we have to bench Michael Porter Jr. for Christian Brown now. And it turns out that's not as good,
Although I think there is a tweet in my bookmarks that said Christian Brown could actually be better than Bruce Brown this year. I need to find it.
Hey, look,
I'm pretty sure
he
exists.
could have been. He just was not.
Yeah.
All things are possible in the land of theory.
Yeah. But I don't know. I walk away from this, and I know that I'm beating a dead horse and that I'm playing the same song that I tend to play. But I watch these playoffs, and it annoys me that the Lakers sat out the deadline, that the Lakers, basically considered themselves too mediocre to salvage this year, and then just kind of battened down the hatches, kept their powder dry for this upcoming summer. And we'll see what comes of this summer. But I don't know, man. If it, we've seen for Dallas what happened when you do push those chips into the middle of the table, and you do go out and get Daniel Gafford, and you do go out and you get PJ Washington. That stuff that, it's like I talked to Raj the other night. I think the market inefficiency is going to be not having a dweeb who cares about sustainability in your front office, because Like that's, you look at the teams that have a real chance here, moving forward. Minnesota's the only team that didn't make a big move this year, but they made the biggest move of any of the remaining
they
teams.
made their move. Yeah.
Yeah. And like everybody else there, the Pacers brought in Siakam, the Celtics brought in Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. And they did so, by the way, with a team that was just in the Eastern Conference Finals the year prior. The year, or were they? I forget. No, I think they lost early. There was the embarrassing loss that they had. That, but like I don't know. I look at the way that this season played out here for the Lakers, where they considered themselves too mediocre to save. But the reason that they considered themselves that mediocre, or the reason that they were that mediocre, was because Darvin Ham wasn't starting their best players or playing or relying on their best players. And now you fast forward to these playoffs, and I don't think the Lakers, I think they are pretty far as currently constructed, but a couple, tweaks and updates and upgrades. And I don't think the Lakers are that far from the teams that we're watching play right now. I know that probably makes me an insane homer, and I probably sound like an insane, crazy person homer. But I swear to God, man, we just talked about the equation here with Kyrie and Luka being the two best players in the series. That's LeBron and AD. They were both on all NBA teams this year.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You have it up there on the rundown for the people watching on YouTube. Subscribe, Lakers Lounge, all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, LeBron and AD making all NBA today, that means that you have, by most measures, two of the best 15 players in the NBA. And so, especially now that it's positionless. And so, maybe you think that those guys are going to drop off a little next year. With AD is not in that range where you should start, where you're really saying like, oh, he's going to be old net, like he'll be 31. So that's still within your athletic prime. Yeah. But LeBron obviously is one of one, and we don't know sort of when the other shoe is going to drop for him and he's going to start to fall off, and maybe it's just never, and whatever. But either way, that does demonstrate that it's not that insane of a homer take, because if you have two of the best 15 players, and you have draft picks to go out and upgrade the roster, and you have some tradable salaries to go out and upgrade the roster, like you should be able to go and upgrade the roster and get those guys closer. It's like how many people would have looked at Dallas a year ago, or a little over a year ago now, when they made the Kyrie trade. Yeah. But even when they made let's go back to when they made the Kyrie trade, like you're looking at that and you're like, oh, has that team shown that it's funny to think of other teams using the calculus of like, well, our star has to prove with hopeless help that they're good enough for us to invest in, and like, it's like there were, like, imagine
nobody
if the
else
Mavs
does that.
looked at Luka and they're like, Luka, you're not dragging these bums to like the number 1 seed. So yeah, we're not helping you at the trade deadline. Sorry, dude. Maybe play better next year. And
lose
they
some
went
weight,
in and
dad bod.
They got I mean, that might have been fair in some cases, but like they that's maybe the one quibble that the Mavs could have with Luka is like, hey, maybe like, and he, look, this year he did come in by all accounts the best shape of his life, and for some people that looks different. Like Jokic, no one's going to call him out of shape anymore when he's out there playing like 45 minutes in a playoff game looking like he does. It's like clearly he is at the right weight for his body type and whatever, to optimize himself.
I love that 2 of the 3 best players in the world are built like me. Like
that's representation, dude. It's just like it's like when JJ Redick gets to be coach of the Lakers. I'm gonna believe that as a podcaster, I can get the job of my dreams.
I thought you were going to say well-groomed white man, but no, like it was podcaster.
No, I would not. I would not qualify on JJ's level of well-groomed. No,
it was like when Coco came out, I was like, finally, they made a Disney Pixar movie for us, my Mexican familia. Like we finally have and now I have like great NBA players who look like me. It's just like, this is where we stand now.
Everything's coming up Anthony this decade. Yeah, it's like, no other, it's sort of this asinine thing that they constantly like leak of like, oh, well, these guys got to show us that they're worth investing in. Yeah, dude, you know what, like would maybe help them show that they're more worth investing in? Like a better team context and maybe some better lineups around them from the coach. So they took care of that first part, TBD on that second part and rebuilding the roster around them. But I think you're exactly right. Like, especially if Denver loses KCP, the Wolves, we don't know what's going to happen with them. Their ownership is currently embroiled in a lawsuit over who is going to get control of the team that could determine how many luxury taxes they're willing to pay, and it's basically like two broke guys kind of fighting over the right to like not pay and keep this roster together. And so even if they continue to move on, it's like, again, the Mavs, they're one Kyrie YouTube rabbit hole away from sort of imploding at any time. And so it's just like, yeah, you look at the league, I'm not going to say like wide open, but it is open enough that you would think that you could give yourself a puncher's chance and it's going to be worthwhile. And again, if that is not something that you want to do, that's great, but stop wasting everyone's time by like continuing to employ LeBron and AD. Like then if you want to do that and you want to just say, hey, we don't think that we can be good enough, then just rebuild. Stop trying to sell season tickets. Like this is embarrassing at some point to not sort of go all in and either push your chips in or, or cash out. Like there's sort of, I think, no middle ground this summer. And these playoffs have proved, that if you do go in and you do, tell Sam Presti, it's like, hey, I know you got that draft pick stockpile. Like, you just give me one of those picks. We'll give you a 2031 down the line and, help us get Daniel Gafford to come in and help then beat you in the playoffs. Like, that's sort of, again, like if I were a player on the Thunder, like I probably wouldn't be feeling too hot about that right now. It's like you can only game theory this stuff so much. And maybe that does end up working out down the line for the Thunder. But it is, I thought the best point that you made the other day was it has been sort of, heartening to see the teams that went all in and believed in their vision and believed in their ability to build a contender and have some overarching thought for what a contender should look like, get rewarded versus, the teams that sort of dithered and are like, hey, I don't know what we want to do. Let's keep all our options open, whatever, have sort of flamed out.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right now. But Kevin O'Connor, I keep on wanting to call him Kevin O'Connell, which is my Vikings head coach's name. But Kevin O'Connor wrote, I thought, an incredible piece about the Denver Nuggets and about Calvin Booth specifically. And
I saw some of the quotes from that. I did not read the piece yet, but I saw some of the quotes.
But like he was, one of the things, and it's not pulling it up right now. Is it theringer.com? It is.
Didn't he say like if we don't win that this year, it's fine because we're trying to develop to win 3 of the next 5 or whatever?
Right. He was like, I don't care about going back to back. I want to win 4 of 6 or 3 of 5 or something insane like that. And like, I'm sorry. I know Jokic isn't wired like this, and I said this on yesterday's show, so apologies to those of you who tuned in yesterday, but I'm going to repeat myself because I think this bears repeating. If I'm Jokic and I hear my GM say I don't care about going back to back, I say fire that dude. Get him away from me as quickly and as far as possible. Like as you possibly can. Fire him off into the sun. Fire
not
him
even
off
to mention
the Suns. Like, I don't care. Get him away from my organization.
That he just got beat by the GM who assembled the whole team that then basically he tried to take credit for, other than I guess the KCP trade and the Bruce Brown signing. But for the most part, the core was all assembled by Tim Connolly. And then he goes to another team, immediately goes all in, and then that's the team that knocks you out. After your GM was like, yeah, I don't care about repeating. It's fine. Like, let's just develop Christian Brown. I think that's more important this year.
Like Tim Connolly builds 9/10 of that roster, basically, that winds up winning the Nuggets' first championship ever, and then goes to Minnesota and could potentially win Minnesota their first championship ever. By the way, he has an opt-out this year.
I am excited for him to opt out and then go build the Pistons into a team that can beat the Wolves, in the finals within like 2 years.
Somebody asked me yesterday, was like, what would you do? What would be an offseason that you would be okay with? I was like, if the Lakers hired Tim Connolly, I don't give a shit what he would do. I'd be like, you know what? You nailed step one. If the Lakers were to somehow employ Tim Connolly, I'd be cool with whatever happened next.
Wait, but why would he want to work for Rob Pelinka?
I mean, it's a fair question.
Do you think he's willing to take the assistant GM job?
Well, no, the funny thing, so because originally the way that the Lakers won a championship before was building a roster where Rob Pelinka was the GM. So if essentially if the Lakers pushed him down the totem pole and then they went out, like, how much do you think it would bother Rob? Like, the highest he can go on a championship level roster is GM, not VP
It's that
why or whatever.
organizational, like it's the Peter principle that I think I brought up on one of the recent
Right.
podcasts, where like we found the level that he was promoted to, where it
He's
was like
right
one
there.
level above his abilities, And so it's like, hey, he just goes right back down to GM, magically great at it again.
I
Although
asked
I
this
will note,
question.
he is both the he's the vice president of basketball ops, I believe, not the president, and
Yeah.
also the GM, and so he is technically still the GM.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I don't know which
However,
one of those
holding both.
roles like Kurt is sort of more de facto filling. Like, is he the GM? Is he the president? I don't know.
I think he's just the head Kurt is his his title is
Well,
head Kurt Rambis.
his title is senior basketball advisor.
That's true.
But,
All right. The reason I say all of this, and the reason I wanted to make all of these points, is because this year the Lakers are going to once again be faced with going all in or keeping powder dry. And I would argue, honestly, if you look back over the years, that the Lakers have never actually gone all in while LeBron and AD have been Lakers, because you could maybe say the Russell Westbrook season, but even there, or the year that they traded for Russell Westbrook, but even there, they decided
I would say the year that they traded for AD, they went all in. They traded basically everything they were able to trade at that point. Like pretty much the only asset they had left was Kuz at that point. Like,
but that's not not the LeBron and AD era. That's the LeBron era.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, they brought in AD. It did. That was again. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. They did go all in that year, and it sort of serves your argument in that the one time that they went all in, they won it all.
Yeah, right. And since then, they've always kept like one pick free. Right. They've always, they've been hesitant to do anything because they, it's the Peter Griffin thing. They just keep on holding on to the box when they could go out and get themselves a boat. And I'm looking at this upcoming offseason where, again, like the excuses are there, right? You don't want to go all in on a year where LeBron is heading into his year 40 season and AD will be in his 13th season. And
it's interesting how we're not getting any of those leaks before LeBron decides what he wants to do with this contract, though, isn't it?
It is funny. It is funny.
Yeah.
It's while and by the way, good for LeBron. Like it's funny.
It has been notable that we haven't really also gotten any reports of like whether or not they're willing to trade those picks. We've gotten we'll draft Bronny.
Yeah. Also, I guess I should probably look into that. For what it's worth, I've been told that like they're willing to go all in for the right star. But as far as like to your point, moving
what
all
qualifier?
Of the picks,
what does that mean?
The star, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like that's an altogether fair.
If Anthony Edwards demands a trade, they're more than willing to put all 3 first-round picks in.
But yeah, I would say though that like in this league where the margins are being legislated or the ceiling that teams can reach is being legislated to keep everybody at a certain level. Injuries play a bigger role in that kind of an NBA. Margins play that big a role, or a much bigger role in that kind of an NBA. And willingness to go all in plays, I would argue, the biggest role in that NBA, because all of these teams. So basically, like what the new CBA is basically going to force teams to do is get their team to like a certain level. And then once they reach that certain level, you have about a year, maybe 2, to go all in. And when you go all in, you have to win it all, because on the other end of going all in, it's going to be tough, right? That's essentially like what all of these teams are going, like that's the track that all of these teams,
especially with the second apron and the repeater tax, like it's basically designed to where, you can go all in for this like sort of short window, but it's really not feasible to do it like over and over and year after year after year, as the Suns are going to find out.
Right. And the Clippers are going to find out. And even though the Nuggets are going to find out, and the Warriors are finding out, right?
I think the Clippers a little less so, because they still at least have some picks to like move around and stuff like that. Like they aren't, it's not to the Suns level where it's like, we threw in all our picks and we got a guy with a no trade clause that no one wants, who's on maybe the worst contract in the NBA. And then we traded more seconds, like that are swaps of swaps, to be able to go get, Royce O'Neal and whatever. Like, they're sort of the argument against your point of like, okay, maybe not that all in, maybe.
Well, but that's the part of this is because I know that there are going to be fans who are going to be like,
it at least it demonstrates that you can go all in for the wrong guy, and sort of the downside of that.
There's also that. That's a big part of this. But like, if I'm a Suns fan, look, if I was a Suns fan and the Suns gave up stuff to go out and get Bradley Beal, I probably wouldn't have handled that all that well. But at the same time, also,
you would have lost it. Your podcast the day of would have been like, this is why I'm like, I actually no longer, it's not even just I'm no longer a Suns fan. I am no longer going to even acknowledge the sun. Like, I'm not going outside. I don't want to see it. It's just going to make me mad.
I'm now a vampire. Yeah. I'm an extra from Twilight. But I don't know. That said, I would imagine Suns fans really enjoyed the feeling that they had coming into the season. It quickly dissipated because
they enjoyed it for like for when they went all in to get KD, and it's like, hell yeah, like let's go win it all now. And then they like go and get Bradley Beal, and it's like, okay, we're really pushing them all in. And then they like, now they're looking at it and it's like, oh no, this team is kind of not that good, and we are ultra screwed from a salary and draft pick perspective.
I mean, it's why right after the season ended, the KD rumors started swirling again. It wasn't even necessarily that he might force his way out again. It was that like they have no other choice because they can't trade Booker. He's the face of their organization. If you trade Beal, you don't have the picks to give up to force teams.
Beal also
the no trade clause. Yeah, but like also, even if he waives the no trade clause, you don't have the picks to give up.
Why does he want to move? Why does he want to go to a bad team?
Well, I
guess he's already on a bad team, but
given the season that he just had, I think he would welcome it. Like he hated it there. He hated it there.
Can you guys send me back to Washington? They were really nice to me there.
Washington's like, not our problem.
Yeah. No. New front office. Sorry, dude. You're not like, I know you were sort of supposed to be our Kobe, but no. Sorry.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I still find myself preferring the Suns like going all in. I would much rather have an era of commission over an era of omission because like I'm going to look back on the LeBron and AD era. They won a championship, which is great.
Yeah.
But that
Can
doesn't
you imagine
live up
how
to...
we'd be talking if they hadn't?
Oof, yeah. But like that, it still doesn't live up to Lakers' expectations, I don't feel like, right? When you have two great players, the expectation there, realistic or not, is
to be fair, it's a different league than the one that the Lakers were like bad. Like the league is deeper than it's ever been. This is not me saying every Lakers title before this is Mickey Mouse. It's like, no, it was just, there was a different ability to go all in. Like there was less talent spread out around the league. Like the salary cap restrict, like the Lakers could just freely outspend other teams more easily than they can now. There weren't as many other rich owners, stuff like it was different context overall.
Yeah.
Like to me, the LeBron AD era will always go down as like, at least to some degree, a success because they did get that title in the first year.
No, I wouldn't call it a failure, but
there'll be some missed opportunities though, I think.
I'm going to look back. It's going to be weird, right? Because like they won the championship, but I'm going to look back on it and always wonder what if, right? Yeah. And ironically, for both reasons, right? It was an era of commission with trading for Russell Westbrook, right? It was the Beal trade, which again, like Gray Raj, right? Different Raj, but Gray Raj saying, funny how two of the worst trades recently were Wizards guards being Russ and Beal.
And hilariously, like different front offices. Like it wasn't just like one smart front office that is like, like, hey, we're going to offload these guys, while we can. Yeah. It was the ones that, so you know how bad of a GM you have to be to get fired after getting assets for Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, you absolutely pants the Lakers and got fired despite that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
turns out in retrospect, maybe shouldn't have just like given away KCP for like a bag of chips. Like that was probably a bad idea.
Yeah, probably not. But like I find myself though, like I'm probably going to look back on the LeBron AD era with like, what if in mind because of the Russ trade, right? That's always going to be the moment that, you know, it's the what did I call it the other day with you in the chat? The canon moment from like the Spider-Verse movies that like you can't avoid, but absolutely devastates your life.
I like that you're comparing the Rust trade to Spider-Man having to lose a family member in every universe to understand responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I no regrets. I stand by it.
It's like if you go back and undo the Rust trade, the whole universe actually falls apart. There is.
Yeah. Look, I've lost uncles. The Rust trade hurt more. You know.
You're going to hell, dude. Yeah, I cannot believe you just said that on air. You're like, you know what? My uncle would understand. He didn't like it either.
He's a huge Lakers fan. It's actually what killed him. It's the Russell Westbrook trade. but yeah, I think this is like the last.
I'm going to hell now too, just for how hard I just laughed at that.
I think it's the hardest I've ever gotten you to laugh.
Anthony's like, yeah, you know, he's like, yeah, I've had family members die, but the Rust trade, it hurt me more. You know, I
think that I think that's gonna go down as the hardest I've ever made you laugh. I really think
it might be. Yeah.
But no, I this is the last opportunity that the Lakers have. I just feel like we need to like put the 30-second countdown and just say like technical difficulties.
Dude, I'm like actually.
Oh man. Actually,
I cannot believe you just said that.
I doubled down too.
I'm gonna go on record and say that every single family member that I've been close to that has died has hurt more than the Rust trade. just him. It's just him saying this. I hope you didn't say that at the funeral. You're like, this was almost as sad as the day that the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook.
I like tapped the mic. All right, sorry everybody. I know
we've all
really
suffered a great loss today, but it could be worse, and let me tell you why.
I'm getting like,
oh my god,
pulled off the stage.
Seriously, this is no joke. I am dealing with an abdominal injury right now, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like have torn it again. And like, I think you just sent me to more physical therapy. I'm not.
I'm gonna be like, somebody's gonna be like yanking me off the stage, but you don't get it. It ended the era. It ended. That was the title window.
LeBron and AD could have won another title.
All right, I'm gonna try to regain.
Okay, yeah,
composure and momentum.
I did not expect us to go 5 minutes on that. I'm sorry,
but no, I find myself though, like this summer, because of what I've seen from the rest of these playoff teams. Like this summer, I feel like is the last chance that they'll have to really kind of salvage that what if sentiment, right? Yeah, you could go out and you could trade for the star that like sets you up after LeBron is gone or whatever. But I think also importantly here, if you don't get the star, that is not an excuse to not try to get your roster to the level where LeBron and AD, coming off of 2 All-NBA seasons, can viably compete for a championship against these other teams that, yeah, they're good, but not a single one of these teams. There is no... I don't feel looking at any of these teams right now the way that I felt looking at last year's Nuggets, even, right? I don't look at any of these teams right now, like let alone the Golden State Warriors when they had KD and all of those guys. But like even those the Cavs teams, like like nobody right now that is at the level of LeBron's teams when he was in
Yeah,
Cleveland
I mean,
and won
the
a
Celtics
championship
are the
there.
closest thing to that, and nobody trusts them to come out of the East as much as like even with the path they've had, people are like, yeah, this is not, it's not a threat on that level. I agree.
Yeah, and I find myself, just I watch these games and I'm made all the more frustrated, but also like it's that weird combination of being frustrated but also hardened, and it really nails home the idea that even if you don't go out and get a star, and I know that that's going to be the Lakers' focus, although there's a little
It's
less
always
momentum
Lakers
behind
focus.
that. It's always a Lakers focus, but it's a little like to the best of, and Jovan and I talked about this when Jovan was on the show, right? I have noticed that the sentiment there isn't as star or bust as as it felt coming off of the year, off of their year ending, and he agreed. So I don't know. I just it it just sucks to waste a season where LeBron and AD were two top 15 type players. AD was a
Yep.
top 10 player. AD is the only player, I
To
believe,
be honest, they were
to
probably both top 10 players. Like, I think LeBron probably should have been second team, but
probably. But I also like AD. The season that he just had, he's the only player in the NBA to be named to both an All NBA team and to an All Defensive team, right? Um, it just and narrowly missed being a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he only missed it by like a vote or something like that.
and that, I mean, that's just people not knowing ball.
It is. You're not going to get like you're saying that
I'm sorry.
somewhat
I just
sarcastically,
like,
but I'm saying it like
yeah, I
legitimately.
don't, I genuinely like, I don't understand having Bam over AD, like for anyone, like as a defender or really in any capacity, but certainly not as a defender.
Yeah, it's just because people don't like that 80
Again,
forces
I feel
rim
like I've
dribbling.
used the Pokemon analogy a lot, but like Bam is like Bam's like Charmeleon and AD's like Charizard of that player.
Yeah, because it goes what Charmander, Charmeleon,
Yeah.
Charizard. Yeah.
I mean, at
So
least I don't know. I feel like there's like Giga evolutions and stuff now that I'm not familiar with. But yeah, that was my Pokemon growing up. Was it was those three.
this is my NBA.
Yeah,
But no, I that's kind of the part of this that whenever whatever playoff game that you happen to be watching, I hope that that's your takeaway too. That like yes, these teams are really really good. I still have tears coming out of my eyes. Yes, these teams are really really good, and the players that head them are really really special. Luka is a top 2 to 5 player, depending on who like what you value.
yeah.
Anthony Edwards is transcending the is just leapfrogging
If he
people
wasn't there
left and
already,
right.
he's gonna be by the end of this playoff run.
Right. Jason Tatum is still mediocre, but like Tyrese Halliburton
It's funny. I was gonna
you
when
know,
you made the LeBron like the East comp or whatever. I was gonna say like these Celtics are sort of like if those LeBron Cavs teams, but like LeBron was like the 15th best player in the NBA instead.
yeah.
So he had like this amazing, well-fitting supporting cast, but he just like wasn't LeBron. Like it.
Yeah. But yeah, I really sincerely hope, and there's no reason right now to believe that it isn't the case, but I really sincerely hope that the Lakers don't once again look for an excuse not to push all their chips into the table, into the middle of the table, because they're not that far.
I mean,
All right.
I agree with you. I just like I hate to be the dose of cold water at the end of this after we were just laughing and we've talked all this stuff, but like I mean, to me, I'm gonna believe it when I see it because
Yeah.
like the way that I evaluate this Lakers era, the last thing, you've talked about sort of missed opportunities or whatever. Like for me, it just screams like job preservation over anything else. It's like if you look through at all of their moves through the lens of how does this help Rob Pelinka remain employed for as long as possible versus like, is this the thing that could, whether it's boom or bust, that could help the Lakers get closer to winning? It almost always comes down on the side of this is the thing that will keep me employed as long as possible. Even going into, we can transition this into the coaching stuff, but if you were
And
done with
LeBron
this,
saw that. Like LeBron saw that I guess effort coming, right? He saw those intentions coming and was like, no, 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 no. Like if JJ, like I want I don't know. Like, obviously, I've never spoken to LeBron. I've only like
All right,
been
yeah, for those
somewhat
of you at
close with
home,
LeBron
jot
or
it down.
whatever.
LeBron, not one of Anthony's internal sources. He just
Yeah,
confirmed it.
right.
Okay. It could be any of the other guys on the roster in the organization. It's not LeBron. All right.
But like I do have a pretty good feeling and have talked to enough people who are like close to LeBron to like I don't know the guy obviously, but I
Yeah.
do feel like he's not all that difficult to read is essentially
No.
what I'm trying to say. And on this one, even though like I tend to laugh, like remember when LeBron went to a playoff game and was like, "Oh, I just wanted to take in a playoff game." Like
Yeah.
I laughed that off. Like that's ridiculous. I know what he's trying to do there, and it's funny. But on this
You
one,
mean the
I
Cavs
legit,
one?
I what's that? Yeah, it just
You mean the
happened to be
Cavs
a
game? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just happened to be a Cleveland Cavalier game that he sat courtside for.
Anthony,
Um,
what's their biggest position of need?
yeah, right, yeah. It got like a really long standing ovation too, and everything like that.
Yeah.
But like I find myself when I saw this leak, partially because I saw it coming. It was literally one of the things that I was talking
Yeah.
about at the party that I went to over the weekend. But it was and also like Raj and I talked about it on the show like the night before that this leaked as directly as it did from Shams. But even like as it was going on, I totally understand where it's coming from because
It's not even a leak. Rich Paul went on the record
yeah,
and said, LeBron and JJ host a podcast together. That does not mean that that LeBron wants him to be the head coach. And you know what? I think that's absolutely. I appreciate Rich standing up there because, like, I don't think that hosting a podcast for someone should mean that you automatically endorse them to want other jobs, like you, for example. Like, I don't necessarily like me hosting a podcast with you does not mean that I want you to be my boss.
yeah,
Like, I want to push back on that notion. I think Rich, like, that's totally fair.
yeah. One that hurts. Two, I but no, I think and by the way, that isn't to say that like LeBron doesn't want JJ to be his coach. It
Yeah.
just means that he doesn't want to be the face of JJ being hired, just like he appears now to be the face of the Lakers trading for Russell Westbrook. He doesn't want to go through that again. And again,
He
I
saw
don't
how
blame
they
him at
played.
all.
He saw how they played the Russ thing, which, as you and I have discussed, and as I'm sure your sources have told you and whatever, like, was a mutual thing. Who was pushing for it
Yeah.
most, I'm sure, is like a matter of debate. But that was something that every party involved wanted. That was not something where, again, as much as we joke, where, LeBron and AD like stormed the Lakers' offices, locked Kurt and Rob in the broom closet, and called it in. It was like that was something that they all collaborated together on, and they all have to own it. And the way that the Lakers, front office,
The only person who has owned it is LeBron.
Going back to the sort of the job preservation thing, what was the first thing that you immediately start hearing is that, like that was LeBron and AD and they pushed for it. And so, they sort of have to sit in it and they got to show us that they're worth us fixing the situation and committing more assets to it after their big mistake. That was bad superstars, and that sort of thing. And like LeBron, when you have that happen, you can see this coming where it's all.
Uh-oh.
If you're Rob, this is the thing that I've sort of discussed. Like, why do you hire JJ? And because you think that you can blame this on LeBron if it goes wrong. And if it goes right, then great.
Also, LeBron's not the only person seeing that coming.
If you go,
like
if Rob goes with anyone other than JJ, then it's like LeBron's not going in there and being like, I really want James to go, And so it's the easiest one to blame on someone else if it goes wrong. And if it goes right, then you're like, yeah, we always saw JJ as a young Pat Riley.
We saw him as Pat Riley. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was like, it's not just, by the way, LeBron who sees it this way. Like the Eastern Conference executive who I spoke to for my piece was like, yeah, we all see it that way. We all know what he's doing. Like it's always really, really funny when rich people think that everybody around them are idiots, or everybody who like sees what they do are idiots, and we just don't understand the world in the way that they do. No. You just
look at us jingle these. We're jingling these car keys over here. Look at it. Woo.
Yeah.
Oh, blame
Right.
LeBron.
But the number one thing I've learned over the course of my life is that like super duper rich people aren't actually that much smarter than all of us. Some of them might actually be smarter or whatever, but
In
like
many
some
cases,
people are just,
quite the opposite.
yeah, they're beneficiaries of circumstance. And I tend to think, and through my time covering this team and through my time covering Rob Pelinka specifically, that he seems to be one of those types of people who like thinks the rest of us are idiots. He thinks the rest of us like just have no idea how all like. And in this case, and I really kind of wondered. I actually asked around to see like, hey, does this leak actually change like the whole Redick thing? Because like he seemed to be caught, like
Yeah.
LeBron got out in front of this one. Does it change anything as it stands right now? I haven't heard that it has or whatever, but like
No, because they know, again, it's like they can sort of, again, what is going to be people's first preconceived notion, about this? There's a reason that LeBron and his camp felt like they had to get in front of it. Is that like, he's hosting a podcast with the guy. Of course, most people are going to be like, oh, this is a GM at it again. And it's like, again, we've lost, or a lot of the internet.
Shit, it's already started.
Ability to
like
have,
even now, he got out in front of it, and even now people are like, oh, that's still LeBron, still all LeBron.
Well, exactly, because it's an easy thing to trace back to him. He's co-hosting a podcast with the guy. And so, but at the same time, like it's just, it's going to be hard for him to distance himself from that to casuals, regardless of sort of what he puts out there. And so again, like, I don't think that it changes anything. Like, again, and I think that we've lost all ability to sort of be nuanced about this. Two things can be true. The Lakers can be doing this, like Rob can be doing this as a political move so that he can blame LeBron later. And LeBron can also want JJ as head coach, but also not be pushing for it and being like, no, you hire him right now. It's, he doesn't have to.
No, I like if you were to ask me, or if somebody was to ask LeBron and be able to inject him with like truth serum on the things that he cares a lot more about, I think like far and away the thing he cares a lot more about are the improvements that Rob Pelinka didn't make to the roster last year, and needs to make to the roster this upcoming summer, right? And like if they hire JJ, fine. Like I still think he has more buy-in than all of the other people competing for this job. Like that is also true here. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that if and when JJ gets hired, Pelinka should be off of, he should carry no burden of accountability if it doesn't go well. Which, by the way, as Cranchus has been talking about on Twitter,
that is
probably not going to go.
Job. That is his job as the executive. Okay. It doesn't matter if he wants to say, hey, like, oh, like, how many times do you get to say this other person gave me a bad idea and I did it anyway, but also it's their fault? Like, you're still the final decider,
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I could name any
like if you don't think it's a good idea, or whatever. If you don't think it's a good idea, speak up now or don't make the decision. You're still the one calling in the trade. You're still the one making the hiring. You're still the one making the free agency signing. Like at some point, you don't get to keep pointing the finger and be like, oh, well, this keeps going wrong because it's all these other people's fault, even though I'm the one making the final thing and signing off on it.
Yeah. Well, the hypothetical you can't, but in this case, we know Rob can.
Well, yeah, he is, if there's one skill he's shown that he's elite at, it is managing upward and, managing the narrative to the only person that matters, which is his bosses.
Yep. All right. That I believe, we do have we have a super comment, which means I get to play this bad boy. Jason Kelly writes, love how the Mikey and the Nuggets thought they were the 2015 Warriors when they were the 2021 Bucks all along. Jokic is closer to Giannis than Hakeem right now. I don't think being close to Giannis is that offensive, but no, I think the larger point.
I mean, I think to be honest, Giannis and Jokic are sort of in that same sort of tier right now. Like, I think of guys, like if you're looking at sort of pantheon, again, I hate having these conversations about like active players because it's like it could change next year if Giannis wins the second title or if Jokic does or whatever. But right now, if you look at their resumes, they are I think they should be on similar sort of pantheon levels of player.
No, they won. Yeah, I think they've won one championship. Giannis has multiple MVPs. Jokic has more MVPs. Giannis
just
has the defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Giannis has the defensive player of the year.
You think
Similar,
Jokic is going to get
obviously.
that one next year? I don't know. I mean, I've heard his like D-Vorp is pretty good. So, you know. It is funny. He's an okay defender now. No one can accuse Jokic of not getting the absolute most out of his abilities on the defensive end anymore. So, like, I mean, fair enough. Like, I don't think he's like the huge minus he was a couple of years ago. But yeah, it is funny.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think I think he's a better regular season defender than he would be a postseason defender. Like, if he has to go and defend a Steph Curry pick and roll, or if he has to defend a Kyrie Irving pick and roll, or, you know, we even saw him struggle with Anthony Edwards in space,
or like a Rudy Gobert
right?
fadeaway, you know, like it.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Like
on equal levels of offensive threat.
Yeah. But like, I think Giannis is to defense what Jokic is to offense. The difference to me is that like Giannis is also incredible offensively, and I think would be better if he had a coach, or if he bought into the coach who told him, hey, set screens occasionally and operate in the short roll. Just try it one time, see how it goes. But that's not something that he's interested in doing. That's what's always so funny about the conversation about like coaches in the NBA, is so much of it boils down to what your star is willing or not willing to do. Right.
Yeah. On some level that's on the coach, but also it's like, you know, you can't force someone to do something that they're just not predisposed to do. You know, there's no level of communication ability. Like, I think, again, to JJ's credit, you know, if the Lakers do hire him, I think he would instantly come in with a pretty good ability to communicate to NBA players, because he has been an NBA player. He knows how to talk to those guys. He has that sort of resume and that respect and that gravitas. But like, again, you know, even if you hire JJ to coach the Bucks and he was like, Giannis, you know, all these numbers say that you're really good. It's like a roller and whatever. And Giannis is like, yeah, but I want to dribble the ball. Then, you know, it kind of doesn't matter.
So my comment thing is frozen right now. It won't let me do anything. So I guess Jason Kelly's comments is just going to stay up for the rest of the show.
Good comment.
Which is not going to be long, but still, it's going to be stuck there for a little bit. I hope that
we appear to have lost Anthony. So, you know, I am not a trained host, and I was not prepared for this in any way. So hopefully he is going to come back shortly.
I'm realizing that the Jason Kelly thing was a warning, that like it was StreamYard telling me like I'm about to crash. So you need to end this as soon as you possibly can.
I tried to juggle it for as long as I could.
Do you think you did okay?
No.
It's never a good sign when somebody I walk back.
I was not prepared at all. So
it's never.
I think I went like this, and then was like, "Yeah, guys, I don't know. Anthony appears to have crashed, so I'm going to try and talk for a second while he."
It's normally like a terrible sign when I walk back in, and the person there is like, "I don't know what I'm doing right now. I was not ready for this moment." So on that note, we are going to go ahead and get up out of here. Thank you everybody for tuning in the way that you do. And you have, it's insane, 700 people here on a random Wednesday night to listen to Harrison and me talk about my dead family members. Greatly.
and not just your dead family members, that you don't really miss them more than you miss having, you know, the assets.
See,
from the Rusty.
I think you're looking at that wrong. I think like I miss my family members a lot. It's that Russell Westbrook trade crushed me to my soul. Like it's that like I may never recover.
This is the most psychotic thing you've ever admitted on air. Although it'll probably, you know, again, it'll endear you to like, I think, you know, watch, we're going to get a bunch of comments that's like, yeah, when my grandma died, it wasn't even that sad. Thanks, Anthony, for speaking out.
I've never even met my grandpa. Like somebody actually, that's technically me. I didn't meet one of my grandpas. So technically, you know,
stop.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Man, you know, if you would have been gone a couple seconds longer, I would have thought God struck you down from the StreamYard thing.
All right. Please do hit that subscribe button. Please do hit that like button. Please, if you're listening in the morning via podcast, subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcasts, preferably Odyssey. Please tell your friends about the show. Tell them that you love the show. Tell your enemies that you hate the show and that it's the worst thing that you've ever listened to and it offends you
And that it will
personally.
hurt your feelings if they listen to it.
If they listen. Yeah, exactly. I also love that unironically Harrison made the exact same point from earlier. I'm going to let that sit with those of you in the audience who know which point it was, which signifies that Harrison stopped listening to the show. It hurts my feelings a little bit, but I get it. I understand.
That's not true. I listened to every episode Raj and Aaron are on.
Fair. I do think I made that point. Now I'm forgetting what the point is, but as you were making it, I was like, I made this point.
It likely is a point that you made on one of the solo shows, which I do not normally get to. I'll just be honest. I can't. I can only handle so much of you. I'm sorry. I know this is a bad plug at the end of the pod. But you just entered your dead uncle, so I think we're even. That was him. He inhabited my body.